Hi, my name is Pearce Kross, and this is my submission for the audio perception reflection. I'm a special education teacher, and I deal with a lot of kids who have trouble articulating words. To me, though, audio perception is how we hear and sometimes judge people based on the way they talk. So, like for instance, if someone has a really thick country accent, I know back then a lot of times that meant you were uneducated and things like that. Um, but growing up and teaching around people with different ways of speaking, it's really become more noticeable how quickly students judge and how others get labeled just because of how they sound. Um, so, for instance, if I were to explain this to a non-educator, so like if I were talking to my roommate who's a nurse, I would talk to them and I would tell them that audio perception is basically how we form opinions about people based on the way they sound. So, like I mentioned earlier, if a kid talks with an accent or struggles with some sounds, people might wrongly think, like I said earlier, if they country accent, they might see them as uneducated or things like that. Um, and it's kind of like judging a book by its cover. And that can really affect how kids feel about themselves and how much kind of they want to speak up, whether it be in class or just in general. For instance, some of the kids I work with, one of them has a really hard time pronouncing their L's and R's. And so that can be really hard when I'm going through curriculum with them. Because at the beginning of every lesson, we go through all the letters and their sounds. And I kind of have to keep in mind that they aren't able to pronounce those sounds quite yet. And sometimes other students point that out. They don't mean to. A lot of the times, I feel like they're just being curious, wondering why they can't pronounce those certain things. But anyways, like as I was mentioning, like when I pay attention to those things, I feel like that kind of helps them. And it's more of a respect thing, and it's me recognizing that they might not know this sound yet, but that's okay. That they will at some point. But I feel like a lot of the time teachers can that can lead to negative judgments. Um, Calling a kid out, being like, why can't you pronounce that? You're not pronouncing that correctly, things like that. And even students asking the same things. Like I said, some of my students are more curious, but sometimes it can be seen as teasing or bullying. Um, I feel like it really just depends on the student and their tone and things like that. Um, and like I said earlier, a lot of the kids might lose confidence in themselves and speaking up in the classroom. Um, and sometimes they might even feel left out. A lot of the time, uh, students who have trouble speaking kind of isolate themselves because they don't feel like they're speaking normally. Over the time, this can affect their learning and how they see themselves. So it's really, really, really important for teachers to create a classroom where every voice matters, no matter how they sound.